that everyone will be able to, so that everyone will be able to see this even after it's over. Okay. So let me just make sure I don't have to, I don't want to miss anybody. Okay. Well, we are going to get started, everyone. I appreciate your time and I appreciate you for being here. Okay, so this master class is actually how to free up your time and increase your income as a short-term rental host, even if you're working a 9-to-5, you never owned or managed rental property. So before I go on, I just want to find out of the people who are on this Zoom call, how many of you have managed rental property before? I'm just curious. Anybody, just shout it out, because if you're in the chat, I'm not going to be able to see you.
Yeah, I have. This is Paris.
Paris, okay.
Okay, this is Sharon. I did have an Airbnb.
In the Maryland area, right? Gotcha.
This is Bob. Yes. Investment properties, rental properties. So yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Krista, I know the answer for you is definitely yes. Yeah. All right. Well, these are the things we're going to kind of cover today in the master class. We're going to look at this $1.2 trillion short-term rental industry. And yes, you heard me correctly. I said $1.2 trillion all across the world. And we're going to look at some of the trends. We're going to also talk a little bit about the B&B STARS method. It's what I use for us to be able to go from 0 short-term rentals all the way up to 12. We have 10 online now, and we have 2 more that are coming online. And this happened in six months. And also we're going to talk a little bit about what you should search for in terms of your ideal location. And then the last thing, we're going to talk about how I can support you in your journey as a short-term rental host. And so type in the chat if you've ever stayed in a short-term rental, maybe for Airbnb or HomeAway or Vrbo. They have all these great commercials nowadays, very touching, or even booking.com. I remember several years ago, before I was even familiar with Airbnb, my daughter and I traveled to Denver and we found something on booking.com, which later I found out was done through Airbnb or whatever. It was on booking.com, but it was in someone's home. So let me just check out what's in the chat. Let me see. Okay, so I see one yes. I'm assuming that others have. You stayed in some type of short-term rental before, and I know Sharon, you said that you've actually had one before, but it's something that is increasing. Like, oh, a minute, hold on. I have to add some more people. Hold on, guys. Okay, hold on. They're still coming in. Okay, Krista, I think you got disconnected. Hold on one second. One other person is coming in. Trinity and Destiny, welcome. We're just getting started. My name is Pam Coleman. I am the host of today's master's class. And just really quickly, we're just kind of talking about whether or not you have ever stayed in like a Vrbo or Airbnb or HomeAway. If that's you, just put it in the chat, or, you know, just say something out so we can hear you. And I think Robert said yes. Sharon has actually had an Airbnb before. Anybody else?
Yes, I've stayed in one. This is Paris. Yep.
Paris, okay, okay. And so I know the first time I stayed in one, it was interesting because I'm like, I'm paying to stay in someone's house. But as I was talking to the gentleman, and he was telling me that he's, you know, he had 3 bedrooms upstairs, and he was staying in one of the bedrooms downstairs, and he was renting mainly to students. And he told me, hey, I'm doing so well. I've exceeded my mortgage and I'm doing so well, and it's so easy. I'm thinking about doing this again, just buying another rental property. That was years ago, and it just got me to thinking. I just wanted to be able to share some things because I always like to say ahead of trends, because there are some people who are out there like in cyberspace. Hello, can you hear me? If you don't mind, just mute yourself. There are some people who are out on social media and they're making it seem like you can do this and there's no, I guess it's like a pie in the sky, like everything is peachy keen, but there are some things to be aware of. So here are some of the good things. Number one, this is a $1.2 trillion industry worldwide, and I have my sources that came from AirDNA. These sources, the first three came from hostaway.com. So one thing is that more and more travelers are picking rural locations because they want to, see the outdoors. So they may be going to a ski resort, they may be going to the beach or the mountains. So that's one thing. Also, the rise of bleisure. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of that, but it's like people who had to work from home during the pandemic. They don't want to go back to work now. So they are traveling, they're working not only from home, but from other people's homes. So business plus leisure turns out to be bleisure, and that is increasing. Also, there are a lot of people who are opting for longer stays. I know for my husband and myself, which you'll find out more about, what we're doing in our home, but we have had several people to stay in our home for multiple months. One gentleman stayed with us for 3.5 months. He was moving into the area and he wanted to have a place to stay that felt like home until he can find his own home. Another couple, they just left today, and they were with us for 3.5 months. She is a anesthesiology student, and she needed a place to stay where she would get back and forth to the hospital. And so we enjoy it. It pays us well, and you meet some really great people. So there are more and more people who are opting for longer stays. And according to Hostaway, is saying travelers who are over 40 are 4 times more likely to book trips longer than a week compared to younger travelers. One of the things that's important to be aware of in the past with Airbnb and Vrbo, there weren't as many regulations. I mean, people could kind of do what they wanted to do, but now all across the country and around the world, there are more regulations being put in place. So it's important to understand what that looks like and what you have to do in order to be in compliance. So some areas have totally banned short-term rentals. Some areas have said it's okay if you have it in your home and maybe you can have one other beside your home, but other than that, that's it. Some have only approved short-term rentals in certain zones. Like in Philadelphia, you could pretty much have a short-term rental anywhere, where April 1st, that changed. So it has to be in a commercial district. You have to have a license and so forth. So these are some things that we're going to talk about in a course that I'm going to have, where we can go into more information. But it's just important to know what the regulations are in your area. Also, another thing, guys, larger investors are getting involved in this space. So most of us, we're an individual, or we might have an LLC, and we have, some of us on this call actually have other rental properties like long-term rentals, and we might have 5 or 6 or 10 or 12 or whatever. Well, there are large investors, companies that are buying up massive amounts of real estate. 500 at a time, 1,000 at a time. That is actually going to change the game when it comes to short-term rentals. So these are things that all of us need to be aware of as we're entering this industry. My husband and I, and some of the other investors that came in with us, we just entered this in November 2021. I'm loving it, but also always keeping abreast of the trends and what's going on. So you may have some questions. One of your questions may be, is now a good time to get in? And so some of you on this Zoom, you've heard about other people making money in short-term rentals. I know, Sharon, you've already made money in short-term rentals, and you're trying to figure out, is this a good time to hop in on this wealth trend? I say yes, it is, but that'll be for you to determine. Another thing, some of you are saying, I don't know if I have time. I got a full-time job, or I got a lot of stuff going on. I don't know if I have time to do this. For myself, I've been an educator for a number of years, and I was working in a middle school, which was very stressful to me. But when we started the short-term rentals in November, I was working at that school until February, and then it just didn't make sense for me to continue there because I love doing this and I have, income coming in on a regular basis. So in answer to that question, not having time, if you devote some of your spare time to it, and we're going to talk about ways to automate, yes, you can. You can have time and it can increase your income. And then how will this work? So some people in this call might be saying, I've never managed a rental property before, and that's okay. Others may be saying, I've managed rental property and I've had long-term tenants. Well, how will that work compared to short-term rentals? And also, if I decide to pursue this, is there anyone who can help me? I will say this, there's a lot of information that's out there for free, like, YouTube and so forth, a lot of blogs, podcasts. I try to keep abreast of everything that's going, not everything, but I just try to inform myself of what's going on. But sometimes it's just good to have one place where you can come, ask questions, and, just get a running start on what you need to do. So why is all this important? If you're not getting ahead financially using your current, either one source of income or several sources of income, this is an opportunity for you to make additional funds as a short-term rental host. And so I want you to kind of picture this. Imagine if you're able to host guests using a spare room or host guests in a property that you don't even own. It could be through Airbnb. Airbnb is the largest short-term rental hosting site, but then there are other sites such as Vrbo, such as Booking.com. But imagine if you were able to do that. And so imagine also if you knew how to automate so you can save time, and how to build a team so you can save time. These are things that we did. We had to do it in order to scale because, opening 10 at one time, it could have become overwhelming. And it didn't because of certain things that we put in place. And then imagine if you had a proven system that showed you how to start earning money from your short-term rentals in your first 60 to 90 days. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of share with you what our journey looked like. And so, like I said, well, let me just share a little bit about our journey. We have been investors for a number of years, and we kept hearing about Airbnb, short-term rentals. It was something we were interested in. But one of our sons, all of our children are entrepreneurs, and one of our sons found out that there was a brand new building that was opening in an area of Philadelphia that's growing. So it's an area where they tore down a lot of dilapidated buildings and homes, and they started putting up these high-rise condos and apartments. So my son happened to find out that there was a brand new apartment that was just built. The investor he's a Chinese investor. He built it from the ground up, and he actually wanted to have like a boutique hotel or Airbnb in his site, but he didn't want to run it. He just wanted to have someone to come in and lease it. That is called arbitrage, when you actually don't own the facility, but you lease it using a master lease. And, those are things we're going to talk about in the course that I'm going to have. But we were able to bring some investors together, had a lawyer to develop a master lease. And so we have really full control of the entire building. And so this is just kind of sharing with you the journey. So the first 5 days in November, we hadn't opened those units yet. We just opened in our home. And that's when that gentleman that I told you was moving to Atlanta, he booked in our home. And so the first 5 days, we just made $1,000. Then in December, we opened those other units in Philadelphia, and it jumped from $1,000 to, almost $9,000. Then January, it jumped to $12,000. So you can see, like, month by month, we were earning. So in the first 57 days of having these short-term rentals, I was looking at my salary and I'm looking at what's coming in. I'm like, it doesn't make sense to keep working because we can do so much more and have so much more flexibility. So jumping to February, we earned $14,000. In March, 15,000. And in April, which is not finished yet, you can see what was paid out already and what's expected. So it's 16,000, close to $17,000. So you can see that in a very short period of time, because we had certain systems in place and so forth, we were able to scale and do very well. And I want to be able to help others do that, because a lot of people are asking, what did you do? How did you do it? Oh man, I have to admit someone else. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Okay, Jackie, I hope you're in. Hold on, she's just joining. Okay, all right, welcome, Jackie. We're just kind of talking about, you know, how things got started in terms of when we, you know, bought the Airbnb concept or the short-term rental concept. And so within the first 5 months, and can you do me a favor, please mute yourself? Jackie, if you don't mind. Okay, thank you so much. And so within the first 5 months of operating in full, I'm not going to count November, but in December, $8,600. And here you can see in April is 16,000. So, I mean, I don't know how many businesses you can get into where you can expect to double your revenue within 5 months. And again, there are certain things that we put in place in order to help this to happen. And then I have that we're planning to do 2 additional units within the next 30 days. So there are 8 units in that building, but there are 2 more units in the basement that we're going to bring online. So we'll have a total of 12 units altogether, 2 here in Atlanta, and then, you know, there in Philadelphia. Okay, hold on. This is not advancing. Hold on, guys. I don't know what happened. Okay. And so, again, just kind of showing you proof of concept when you look at what's either come in or expected to come in just from this year alone. And we're, you know, looking at like what's coming in May and so forth. Normally what happens, people are going to book, you know, some people book far out, like maybe they're looking a month or 2 ahead, and maybe they're coming for a wedding or anniversary celebration. So they book well in advance. But a lot of people wait until maybe 2 weeks before. But you can kind of see what's come in, what's expected to come in thus far is 70 grand from these units. And so when we think about how is the short-term rental successful, the revenue is determined by how the guests feel. And so I just clipped up some of the reviews of, you know, one young lady, she stayed in April. She said apartment was clean and spacious, huge beds, great water pressure, within walking distance of places she wanted to go. In the same building, the studio was beautiful, exactly like the pictures. And this one is someone who stayed at one of the rooms in our home, really felt like home, enjoyed my stay, would definitely stay again. So your revenue, your reviews, as well as your ratings. And so our ratings, the top rating you can get is a 5. In order to be a super host, they expect you to maintain a 4.8 and above. And I must say this, having an Airbnb in the home, it's easier to get higher ratings because you're interacting with your guests, and if they have a need, you can immediately address it. If you're doing it like in a arbitrage type situation where you're not there, but you're managing or you have other people managing, it's not quite as easy, but it is possible. So as you can see, from November until now, you know, we have 84% 5-star ratings and 4.8. So again, these are some indicators of success. And so you may be wondering to yourself, well, how would I get started? You know, especially if you don't have rental properties. So again, we started in our home. This is our home in Atlanta. And then this is the arbitrage that I was mentioning in Philadelphia, the apartment building. And even if you're going to do arbitrage and you don't necessarily need to take over a whole building, we want to talk about how you might deal with just one, you know, one frustrated landlord. They might have a house, or they might have a condo, or they might have something that they want they don't want to deal with it, and you can come alongside of them and help them. The only thing is this, as I was saying earlier, understanding what the laws are, because there are situations where people were involved with arbitrage, and because the laws change, now they're actually having to sell their furniture, come out of that lease because they can no longer legally operate. Some people are going to do it illegally. I don't suggest doing that. So the purpose of, so I'm teaching this masterclass because I want you to help, I want to help you get your short-term rental business off the ground. I want to be able to share just some of the things we did that can save you time through automation. And then also at the end, I'm going to offer a course and a community that will allow you to learn and have a much more structured and time-effective way of gaining this information. And my goal is to help you become profitable in 60 to 90 days, just like we did. And so again, there are people who are saying, I've heard this, oh, this is so easy, you can do this. And yes, it can be easy, but navigating through some of the challenges, having someone to help you navigate through them makes your job a lot easier. But I'm the kind of person, I don't blow smoke. Like I'm not gonna ever lie or ever fabricate things to make it seem like this is a pie in the sky. It is work, but it's worth it. So why should you listen to what I have to say, especially since I've done a lot of things right and wrong, and I'm giving you the tea. I'm just going to share a little bit about myself because I think it's important. If you're going to listen to someone, it's important to kind of know a little bit about their journey. I was born in Philly, 1961. My parents actually started a school in Philadelphia. It was called Ivy Leaf School, one of the largest African-American schools in the country at one time. So it started in 1965. That circle right there, that's me standing with my dad, and that's my mom shaking the other little girl's hand. And so I learned entrepreneurship from them. I call them edupreneurs because they were educators and they were also entrepreneurs, and that's what I am. And so I learned how to educate and innovate as I grew up. In Philly, well, now they have a lot more building, but back then it was very rare that you would see someone building a house in Philly, but that's what my parents did. They found a plot of land in the Germantown, Mount Airy area. They built their own house. They were featured in, different publications, and that's me over there at Hampton University as a freshman. And so this on the left is my first investment property. I think I was 23 or 24 when I bought it. I bought at a very high interest rate in 1986. The interest rates at that time were something like, I don't know, 14%. I mean, it was ridiculous. So I got it at a good price, but because the interest rates were so high, I never really made money. And I didn't know how to manage it. I was young. I didn't know how to select tenants. I didn't know how to get them out if it didn't work. I paid too much for contractors and all that. So I lost money and I sold at a loss. I met and married my husband. He was also a real estate investor. He bought his house for $1. He knew a lot more about what to do. So we got married and there we are. We raised 2 sons and 1 daughter. They're now all entrepreneurs. I thought this picture was really cool. This is our youngest son, Charles. We got a chance to meet Rosa Parks, and he was like playing her hair and everything. He was little, but anyway, over the years, I've taught all different age groups. I've worked with young children. I was a college professor for 8 years. This is me at Eastern University. And I also developed online and in-person trainings for numerous schools. So when you talk about, why someone should listen to a person who's sharing information, I've been teaching all my life, like 40 years. And also, I've also been an entrepreneur. So we've been in different network marketing companies and so forth. All of our kids are entrepreneurs. And also Sharon's nephew right there, my daughter sitting on his lap. He's also an entrepreneur. He's part of the family. His name is Marcus. Okay, so you might have been wondering, how can I earn extra income in my spare time? Maybe you're already earning extra income, but you may be wondering how I can do it as a short-term rental host. Are short-term rentals even possible in my market? So not knowing where everyone is located specifically, I can't speak on that, but in the course, we're going to delve into, how you can find out about what the laws are in your area and what you need to do. It's not that you can't do it. It's just being able to comply with the laws. Can you make it work? Absolutely. Is it possible to become a host if I don't own property? Absolutely. And where can I turn for answers? That's why we're here. So if you're ready, give me an amen and let's go. So this is on the left. This is a picture of one of the short-term rentals in Philly. And on the right is one of the bedrooms in our home. And so I developed a system called B&B stars, and every letter in the word star stands for something. So I'm gonna go through every single letter, and then we're gonna talk about how to search for your property. So the first thing in stars is searching. Searching your properties, and yes, you can use your own property or someone else's. The next thing for S is setting up. And so I've taken so much training. I spent a lot of money on courses and mentoring and so forth. So when we decided to do this, I'm like, I gotta, find out who's already doing it successfully. And so that's what I want to pass on to you. So you're not scrounging out there trying to pull together stuff from YouTube and all that. So we actually have a system of how we set up and what we need and how much money it would typically cost to set up a studio, a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom. What are the absolute things that we needed? And not just the setup of the physical space, but also things like stuff I never thought about. Like, how do you set up your laundry system? If you have an apartment building, you have all this laundry, can one person do that? Absolutely not. So those are some of the things that are important. After you search and you find your property, how do you set it up? The next thing is team. All successful hosts use a team approach to succeed, and you can too. So in the course, we're going to talk about who are some of the essential people you need on your team. I would say cleaners. In our home, we clean it ourselves. But if you're doing it outside of your home, you definitely need a cleaning service. If you have a lot of stuff going on, you need laundry. You're going to need a handyman. We're going to talk about that. You're also going to need like certain software that's part of your team to manage, especially if you're planning to do more than just Airbnb. You want to do Verbo and some of the others. You want to have a channel manager. That's, I consider, part of your team, and that goes into automation. Automation makes hosting easier and saves you time, especially if you know what system to use. That's one of the things we're going to talk about. Even in terms of your locks, we don't go open doors for anybody. All of it is automated. So automation saves time, and that's the way, that's the way hosts who have multiple properties are able to do it. If you don't automate, you're constantly going to be on your phone, checking the app. You're constantly going to be, going into the app on your laptop, answering questions and all that. You don't have to do that when you automate properly. The next thing is respond. When you respond to your guests, you can earn high reviews and ratings, which is going to lead you to high revenue. And so, I have so many funny stories about things that have happened, but anything can happen. From one time, all the electricity went out in the building in Philly, and none of us were there. Like, we are doing it remotely, but we have people there in Philly that we can count on. But there's nothing you can do about when the entire community goes a blackout. And we had people on the app and calling, and how did we respond to that? We responded so well that even though the lights were out for maybe 3 or 4 hours of no fault of our own, we got some very high ratings. Like, they kept in touch with us. They let us know what was going on. We were sending messages in the app. But how do you respond when you have a really negative person, which we've had? We've had people who were like impossible, asking for things that just weren't possible for us to do. How do you respond? And how do you respond? How do you even, when someone wants to book, how do you respond? One of the things, like if someone says, hey, we're coming in for our anniversary, or, you know, this is a college reunion. I haven't been to Philly since college, or I used to live here and now I'm coming back, or there's a baby shower. So it's not just like it is an automated message, but then how do you respond to make that person feel special and make them say, I had such a great time, I'm coming back. I had such a great time, I'm recommending you. So response is the next thing. And last, by duplicating the system and staying informed about current trends, you're going to succeed. And when you succeed, that means you're succeeding in all areas, your ratings and reviews, you're succeeding in your occupancy rates, you're succeeding with your revenue, you're succeeding with managing your bills, because there's a lot to manage. Like it's a lot. So you're succeeding in all of these areas, and then your success is going to help lead you to have options. And that's one of the things I wanted. I wanted the option whether or not I wanted to keep teaching those middle schoolers, which I did not. I did not like teaching middle school. And so I had the option on February 25th to walk away and say, I have enjoyed being a teacher and a professor and all that, but I had the option to walk away and now do this full time. So, you know, by succeeding, you have options, whatever things that you might want to do. And I want to just pause right now before I go on. I just want to find out, what are some of the things that you might want to do if you have more time and money? If you want to put in the chat, fine. If you want to just speak out, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear what your motivation is.
Hi, this is Krista.
Hi, Krista.
So if I had more time, I think I would take more trips with my kids.
Ah, yes, yes. And you got kids and one beautiful grandchild, right?
Yes,
Even though you don't look like you could have a grandchild. Yes. And for those of you who don't know, Krista is my realtor here in Atlanta. She was one of the first realtors I met, and she actually sold me my first rental property here in Atlanta. She's awesome. She's a boss. So I appreciate her for being here. So thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? If you had options of, you know, freeing up your time or having more money, what might you do differently? Don't be shy. Let me look in
Someone
the
wrote
chat.
something in the chat.
Okay, so, oh, Jackie says, plan to retire in 2 years and want a steady stream of income. Yes, that sounds really, really good. Jackie, if you don't mind me asking, what profession are you in? You can put it in the chat or.
I'm a nurse practitioner.
Ah, okay. Yes. And I know you work hard. Lord have mercy. Nurse practitioners, y'all do stuff like, honestly, I remember when I had a baby and the doctor was not there. The nurse practitioner was there with me and for me. And my hat's off to you. I appreciate you. I really do. Yeah. Especially going through COVID. What would you do like in your retirement? What are some of the things you want to do, Jackie?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I guess just relax for a couple months and then try to figure out what I want to do.
Okay. Okay. I have a question for you, not to put you on the spot, but when you think about even your own space, your own home, I don't know if you are, you know, if you have like an extra bedroom or even a rec room or something, do you have a place where, say, if you wanted to start in your home, you would be able to do that, you think?
If I want to start, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Oh, I was saying, if you were thinking about starting a short-term rental, would you have a space in your own home to do that? Or would you even want to? I don't know.
Do I have a, well, right now we're looking to buy a house in Metro Atlanta right now. So.
Are you?
Yes, we're moving in September.
Oh, that's right. I remember talking to you because your kids live down here.
My son does.
Your
yes.
son lives down here. Yep, I remember. That's right. That's exciting. We should talk after. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. Does anybody else want to share anything about, you know, what you would do if you had extra money, extra time? What is your motivation? Let me see, is there anything else in the chat? No. Okay, that's fine. All right, so the first thing, I'm just going to talk a little bit about S for search and a little bit about automate. All right, so searching for properties as a short-term rental host, you can use your own or other people's property. And the reason I kind of asked Jackie, would she consider using her own home? Honestly, I'm gonna just be straight up honest. I know a lot of people talk about arbitrage and it's the way to go, blah, blah, blah. If you already own something, you're actually going to make more money, because with arbitrage, keep in mind, and I'm not knocking it because we have all these units, but with arbitrage, you're paying someone else rent. You're paying what they are asking for. And of course, you're going to negotiate, and we're going to talk about that in the course, how you negotiate with a landlord or owner. But if you already own the property, say if you already own your home, or not own it, of course, you're working to buy it, you probably got a mortgage, or you might have a rental property, you already have control of that property. You already know what those fixed expenses are in terms of your monthly mortgage and so forth. So if you're thinking about it and you do have property that you already own, and you do feel comfortable starting in something that you own, you're going to make out really well. Like with 2 bedrooms here in our home, it more than covers our mortgage. Hold on. Why is it not advancing? Okay. And so again, we turned 2 empty bedrooms in our home into short-term rentals here in Atlanta. Well, outside of Atlanta. And as I said, these 2 rooms cover our mortgage, more than cover our mortgage. The room on the left has an attached bathroom. And this room has had mainly almost all long-term stays. Yeah, like 2 back-to-back long-term stays, one for like, I think 3 months, the other for 3.5 months. And that the couple that just left, they just left today. Yeah, they've been here like 3.5 months. The one on the right is, we have more like short-term, maybe 2 or 3 days or whatever. But again, it more than covers our mortgage. And they just get booked. Like you put them up on Airbnb, and we don't have these on verbal, but the ones in Philly, we have them verbal too, but you put them up and I mean, they get booked. And in the course, we're going to talk about what helps you to get in the higher rankings in your Airbnb space. And we look at what's in your area. We just don't have time to do all that right now. What's in your area, so you know what your pricing strategy is and so forth. And also who you're going to attract. Like in Philly, a lot of it is millennials, but here in our home, we've had all different ages and all different races, Caucasian, Asian, oh, not Asian, no, Caucasian, Hispanic, and African-American. But yeah, so we talked about that. And so if you're thinking about using someone else's place, these are some things you want to think about. You can actually go to like Zillow or Trulia, and you can kind of search rentals in the area. So I did this, and I kind of went to Philadelphia in general, and I was looking for something that was under 1,200. And the reason I said under 1,200 is because I want to find something that has a certain base maximum, so that I know I can make money. Because when you're talking about doing arbitrage, like if you're doing it in your own home, you already have shared expenses with your Airbnb. You're going to have your shared, water, gas, and so forth. But when you're doing it in someone else's property, you are the one that will turn on the utilities. You are the one that's going to turn on the Wi-Fi. You're going to do all of that. So, looking at the maximum that I would spend for a property, and then you want to get very specific. So I just did all of Philadelphia. But number one, you would need to know what the rules and regulations are, because they just changed. And whatever city you're going to be in, Philadelphia, Poconos, Dallas, wherever you are, somewhere in Maryland, wherever you are. And then you want to look at a certain segment. So you would never want to take all of a city. You might want to take one zip code and key in on that. All right. And again, in the course, we're going to talk more about that, because once you do that, then you're actually going to compare what's happening in that particular location on the Airbnb platform to see, is this really a good place to start? Also, Facebook Marketplace, you can look there. This was something I found for $1,000, and it's in Jonesboro, Georgia. So some of you may say, you know, if you're in a different market, oh, I would never be able to find a house for $1,000. I don't know. Every market is different, but it's a nice house, $1,000 a month.
So I have a question, Pam. So
Yes.
you rent the house and then use it for Airbnb?
Yes, yes. But
Oh,
you do it, and that's called arbitrage. You do it in such a way, which we are going to talk about in the course. Number one, you don't do it as a person, you do it as an entity. Number two, you make sure that you and the owner have an agreement, and it's all in writing. So with the larger, you know, with the large apartment building, we had a master lease. If you're just dealing with one person, you can do an addendum to a lease. All right. So what is this one? Is this down? No, this is still Atlanta. So again, it's just showing, you know, some of the, I put in a certain price point. Here's the other thing. When you are considering where you want to be, you want to think about your guests and what would be most appealing to them. So I know one of the trends is that people are doing more like outdoorsy things. So you want to just kind of make sure that it's in if you're doing something that's more like rural or outdoorsy, that it has enough attractions to attract a person there. You want to make sure that your community that you're going to be in is safe. So when people come to your apartment or house or whatever, they're not looking over their shoulder, and that's going to be a bad review. You just want to, there's certain things, certain qualifications that you would look for. But if you were going to stay in a place, what would you like? What would you want to have in your, you know, in your place? And then the other thing is, you know, a lot of people think, oh man, I got to personally greet each guest. I have to respond to every message. I have to personally clean. And that is not true. You can use automation to save time. And so one of the things that my son, he's really good with technology, and he was always searching for different things. So I know sometimes we've stayed in Airbnb and they have like a whole written book and you can open it up, but a lot of people don't read stuff unless they have a question, they might refer to it. We use Hostfully, and we created an automated messaging guidebook. So this guidebook actually shares with our guests a little bit about Philadelphia itself, and then it also shares about their unit, or it shares about the building, like coming in, coming out, check in and check out, you know, how you operate the dishwasher, the what else, the temperature, the settings on you know, how to operate your temperature and so forth. And this really alleviates a whole lot of questions back and forth, because if they have something they can click on and refer to, it just makes it a whole lot easier. That's one of the automation systems that we talk about. And so you can reduce needed time to manage your short-term rentals by using automation tools as well as cleaning personnel. So the locks, the automated locks, I had talked about the guidebook, and also having a channel manager, which, you know, you can, if you only have 1 or 2 units, then using maybe Airbnb is fine. But when you start getting to a larger number of units, and or if you're going to be on more than one platform, you definitely need a channel manager. And we're going to talk about that in the course. And even if you're using cleaners, which I would suggest, if you, number one, have a lot of units, or number two, if you're not located close to your units, you have to have a cleaning company. And so there are even, there's even software that can help to manage the cleaners or to interface with the cleaners. And then certain channel managers interface with software to manage cleaners. So again, these are things we're going to talk about. You don't want to have a second job. And if you don't do it well, you'll find yourself like always on your phone, checking and answering stuff, and it can be a headache if you have more than one. So you want to set it up correctly the first time, to make your life easier and to make it enjoyable. I'm enjoying myself. I really am. And also, how can you succeed with less mistakes? And that's when you have a clear roadmap and a guide. And so these are the things that, you know, with B&B Stars, we want to talk about how to set up, how to search, how to supply. We're going to talk about your team, automation, responsiveness, and also how to succeed. And so we're just going to recap real briefly. You can set up either in your place or someone else's place. You can use automation to save time. And you can reach your destination quicker with a roadmap and a guide. And so I just wanted to find out very briefly, has this been helpful so far? Because I'm almost finished with the masterclass and, you know, just sharing some, I think, some key things that can be helpful when you get started, as well as I'm going to share, you know, if you are interested in working with me further, how that can happen. I'm going to look in the chat and see what was said. Okay, Jackie said, yes, it's helpful. Anybody else helpful? Did you learn something or?
Pam, this is
Yes.
Sharon. The information was very helpful. And I would just like to reiterate what you said about if you have a spare room to get your feet wet, it's the
Yeah.
best thing that you could do, you know, rather than stepping out. My situation is I did it for almost 2 years, but technically it's not allowed in the condominium situation that I'm in.
I gotcha.
So I am looking for something outside. That's the only reason. But the information was great.
Okay. And tell us, you know, if you don't mind, and I know you're not doing it right now because of the condo, but what are some of the highlights, you know, from the 2 years? Because you obviously were doing it longer than we have. What are some of the highlights that you found when you were a
money.
host?
The money.
The money.
Actually, living near university, I had a lot of interesting guests. Like you said, all types of people came through. I had a couple of professors that came when they had like the large rival football and basketball games.
Oh, yes.
From out of state, you know, the alumni would come back in town. I even had a graduate who had his family coming from China.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
You meet
And
a
I
lot.
know you're located near DC or somewhere in Maryland.
Yes, I'm in College Park.
College Park, Maryland. Okay.
It takes 10 or 15 minutes to get to DC, but of course the traffic is so bad it could take up to 20 to a half an hour. But it's actually 10 to 15 minutes actually to get into the city.
Okay.
So
and question, were you is your place near like public transportation where someone can hop on a metro or something, or people drive? Maybe.
Yes, it's near two metro stations. We actually have a transit bus that comes into the community.
Oh, wow.
It's near a mall, restaurants, movie theaters.
Wow.
But most
and that's
clients are connected to the university.
yes, but that's a shame. I mean, I know everyone wants to do what is, they want to do what is permitted in the realm of what they're doing. I just want to tell you a story. And it's true, not just a story, but one of the first students that I had, it was a couple, and they actually got 2 condos in a community. It's mainly older Jewish people, but these condos, they got them 2 3-bedroom condos. There was nothing specific in the condo association handbook that said you could not have a short-term rental or you could not sublease. There was nothing there. So they, you know, went ahead and they started ordering things. And one of the neighbors happened to notice there were a lot of boxes coming in. 1 minute, someone just entered and wanted to be admitted. I'm almost done. Noticed a lot of boxes coming in to both apartments. They were like, when are you moving? Being newsy. And of course, this couple, they don't live there, they have their own place. And so to make a long story short, the resident kind of reported them to the condo association. And so what they did, they got a lawyer involved because there was nothing specifically that said you cannot do this. The condo association said to them, if people are staying in this condo, they need to stay for a minimum of 30 days. Because I guess the whole thing was they didn't want a whole lot of back and forth traffic. So that's what they did. So both of their 3-bedroom units are doing extremely well. And they have a minimum of a 30-day stay. And they got their lawyer involved. So they're doing things legally. They're not doing anything illegal. And so Sharon, I don't know, in your bylaws, does it specifically say you cannot do it? I don't know, but
It's very specific. You can only have a 1-year lease. Even if I wanted to rent, like somebody needed to be here for 6 months, I couldn't do it.
wow. Okay. But that's okay, because you've had the experience, and we're going to help you to get this arbitrage going, because you know what you're doing. So let me go to the next one. And I know someone just came in, and it's fine, like, we're about to end, but I am going to like clip everything up and be able to send it out so you can see, you can repeat this. So here's my question, and I'm coming to a close. What if I provided the roadmap that I use and provided 6 weeks of live coaching? So by live coaching, I mean just like this. So we are coming into a live session, and you're able to talk and ask questions and interact and learn from me and learn from each other. There are so many courses, like I paid a lot of money for a course that was it was packaged already, but when I had questions, I couldn't ask anyone. Like it sounded great. And so sometimes when it's already prepackaged, there are things that are no longer applicable because things are constantly changing in the short-term rental market. So I was a bit frustrated. It was great information, but I was a bit frustrated that I couldn't turn to ask anyone questions. So if I were able to provide a roadmap that I use and provide 6 weeks of live coaching, would that make a difference for you? And again, I'm sharing with you my results, that the first 5 days in November, we had the one, in our house, and we made $1,300. And now the first 2 months of 2022, generating $70,000. So, we know what we're doing. I can help you because I'm doing it. And also, if I can provide a clear roadmap and accountability for becoming a host to earn income in the next 60 to 90 days. So this is actually a payout of, remember I was just mentioning that couple, and they have 2 3-bedroom condos. So this is just one of the condos. As soon as they put their units up, they started attracting a lot of action. And so this one guy said, hey, I have to come to the area. I need to stay here because I'm working in this area for a certain number of months. And so he booked for 40 nights. And what I do is I look at ways that we can best price your unit. And so I price it at a certain amount, but also you want to be able to give a discount. If someone is staying for longer than, I give discounts for week-long stays, a small discount, but a larger discount for month-long stays. The reason you're doing that, you're incentivizing people. So even with the discount and the gross of $5,600, their take home is going to be $4,457.15. And they came through my course for 6 weeks, and this was the first, their first payout. And they were so excited, they were so happy because the wife just had a baby. He's 4 months old. And one of the things when they first came into the course, the husband said to me, if you can help my wife to generate enough money so that she can stay home, I'm gonna pay for this course and you'll make me happy and make her happy. So they're both happy because she is able to stay home, and they're generating income on both of their 3 bedrooms. They're able to not only pay the mortgage, but also making sure that she doesn't have to go to work. So that made me happy. And that was, to come into my course. So here's what would happen if you wanted to get started. The 6-week live course is going to start the day after Mother's Day, May 9th. You're going to learn in an engaging environment with other participants. Your investment in the course provides you the ability to ask questions in real time versus the prepackaged course that I took. You'll also have access to the replays. So once you come into this course, you're always going to be, have access to the replays and the ongoing course updates, because I'm constantly updating based on new information. So the listed price for the course is $15.97, but your price is $1,047. And it's well worth it, because trust me, anyone who's taken courses, gotten coaching and all that, I have spent 5 figures in coaching over the years, and I'm still spending because that's important. I want to learn so that I can avoid mistakes. And if I can pay for someone else's knowledge and expertise, I'm going to do that. I don't know about anybody else in this call, but that's how I get ahead. When I was an educator, that's what I did. And as an entrepreneur, I do as well. And also there will be lifetime updates to the course. And eventually I'm going to have an entire community, and we'll talk about that. And also monthly Q&A and support, like after the 6 weeks is up, monthly Q&A and support. And so I'm going to actually send an email that has this link. So there's a link to my website, BNB Stars, and there's a toggle where it says BNB Stars course, and there's also a direct payment link. So we can talk about it offline, because there are some people who may have questions, or you might have some questions now. It is 7:28, so I held to my 1 hour. But if you have any questions now, you can put them in the chat, or you can ask me, or, okay, Sharon said private message. Okay, and someone else had another meeting, they'll get back to me. But again, I will send it to you in about 2 hours. I'm going to have this particular master class. I'm going to make sure that I'll send a link so you can look at it again. I'm also going to send a link for the course. And if you have any questions, we can communicate privately. But I want to thank each and every one of you for being on this masterclass call and for sharing. I think everyone, except, I don't know if I heard from Trinity and Destiny, but I think I heard from almost everyone else. I appreciate you and I value your time. Is there anyone that wants to ask a question or say anything before we close this masterclass?
Hey, Pam.
Yes.
This is Tangela. This Trinity and Destiny. I don't know if you remember me. Do you remember me?
From where? From where?
We was at 5 Lakes together.
Okay, if I see your face, I probably would. I'm sorry. If I see your face, I probably I just don't remember the names. I'm sorry. But anyway,
no.
yes, ma'am.
No.
Yes, I do. Hey, what's going on? Yes, I do. From Delaware. Y'all from Delaware?
No, I'm from Orlando, Florida.
Orlando. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I'll be down on Facebook, but you know my real name is Tangela.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, I remember you. I sure do. And I'm glad you hopped on. We haven't seen each other in a long time.
A long, long time. But I will
Yeah.
be emailing you, or I inbox you. Okay.
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 Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Be blessed.
Anybody else have any questions or anything you would like to share? Because otherwise I'm going to end this and then I'll send you the link.
Hey, Pam, I'm sorry. I thought this meeting was at 8 o'clock. I was outside running. So
that's okay.
in.
That's okay.
It's
Is
fine.
this Alexis Marathoner?
Yes.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I'm gonna inbox you.
Okay, that's fine. And I'm going to, I mean, you can go in and you can actually reschedule, because I'm having another one on Sunday and there are already people who are scheduled. You can reschedule, but I'm also still going to send you the link.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everyone. I have enjoyed interacting with all of you. I appreciate you. And I really do hope to have an opportunity to work with you. Those of you who want to learn more in a environment where you have time, because it's hard to fit a lot into one master class. And plus everyone kind of has different needs. So anyway, I look forward to working with those of you who want to work with me. All right, guys, take care. God bless. Bye-bye.